Right, good evening, everyone. We're back in the hot seat. It's been a while now, but look, there's been nothing to talk about, really, to be fair. So we've got the three of us back together, first time in a long time. But boys, what a week to pick things back up. Jay, Liam, going to be a fun one. How are we, boys?
Tip top, man. I'm excited. It's the first fight week. I think that I've sort of woke up this Monday morning with like butterflies,
Yeah,
and
the
and I'm
feeling.
being serious. And
Yeah.
it's not just because of Canelo Crawford, which is the biggie, but we've also got the rematch of Crocker Donovan. We've got a decent UFC card, so domestically and internationally, it is a massive week. So yeah, I'm really excited and excited to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure as always.
Like Jay's just said, excited to be back, excited for this weekend. I mean, look, if you're a fight sports fan and you can't be feeling that tingly feeling about this weekend, then you might need to find yourself a new sports to enjoy. This is particularly on the boxing side of things with the new AMJ card as well. This is what it's all about for us this weekend. Fantastic boxing.
Stick to rock, paper, scissors. I think Charlie Edwards will give you a decent game.
Yeah, I saw that interview earlier.
Right, let's start in Belfast, shall we? Crocker Donovan 2, and then we'll cover off what's going on elsewhere. Yes, Pat, good to see you, my friend.
Good evening, DJ Pat, my brother. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, mate. Yeah, Crocker Donovan 2 then. So we know what happened in March. Paddy was on top. He hit him after the bell. He was correctly disqualified. Jay's fight.
Oh yeah, this happened as well. Yeah.
No doubt, Jay's putting the car keys on the disqualification on Saturday. He won't make the Canelo Crawford fight. He won't. But no. Look, a decent undercard. Meatball Molly's making a debut. Ishmael Davis versus Kevin Ajarko is a good
That's
fight.
the fight I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, Tyrone McKenna and Dylan Moran are running it back. But yeah, big one really. IBF Welterweight World Championship on the line. Deron Boots Ennis has moved up. We'll give our predictions tomorrow night, but what do you both think of the card top to bottom, especially the main event?
I'll let you go, Liam.
As stadium cards go, it's not the worst we've seen, is it? It's actually, there's enough fights in there of interest. I think the main event, obviously, the narrative writes itself. It's Lewis Crocker. What can he change in just over 6 months and a day? I think it was Sam said to me a little earlier, from March to Saturday night in Belfast. Because if we're being realistic, he won the first round, but then didn't win another minute of that fight. Yes, he won via disqualification, but what actually took place in the ring was he was getting beaten up. So what can he and Billy Nelson change in the space
of 6 months? Mate. He's stopped Usyk in sparring. I've heard the stories. I'm only joking, Billy. Sorry. I had to.
Well, if he has stopped Usyk in sparring, this fight goes 20 seconds. Then,
made him quit, man.
But no, mate, that's the thing. What can Team Billy and Billy and Lewis change? Because that was not going their way. If you looked at the body language in the corner at the end of the 6th round, before the 7th round where it ended, that was a dejected Crocker corner, wasn't it?
One-sided fight. He'd resigned himself to defeat.
There was no, there didn't look a way that you could see that fight turn around other than what happened. If you're Paddy Donovan, it's about getting over the emotion and the anger, because he contained it well, didn't he, when he was interviewed? But we could all see the outpouring of anger he had when he was first thrown out by Marcus McDonnell. It's about channeling that in the right way and listening to Andy Lee and pretty much replicating the game plan, bar doing the fouls that got him disqualified. That's the only thing that needs to change for Paddy Donovan. I think it's a rematch we wouldn't be seeing if the IBF belt wasn't on the line. And, Team Crocker will never admit it, but if this wasn't for the IBF world title, I do think they would have moved off in a different direction.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Liam. Jay,
what confidence is there?
Go on. I was going to say, obviously, not giving a prediction, but I think Lewis has really got to try and make this a dogfight, Jay, if he's going to have a chance.
Yeah, and I was disappointed is probably a strong word, but I think the tactics were just all wrong. There's not many people, right, that domestically anyway, no one's boxing Donovan and beating him in and around his weight divisions. He's too slick. He's too crisp. His feet are too fast. And they just got it wrong. And for me, the painful thing in it all to watch, even though I won and blah, 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 and all that nonsense, right? I like to see a good fight, and they just didn't change the tactics. They followed him all night. For me, and it's easy for me to say that, I'm not a professional boxer, but they didn't look for angles. They didn't look to cut the corners or trap him. They just followed him round.
Last time.
I don't know. I just think, as you said, he looked dejected.
Yeah.
And it was your famous saying, they just rinsed and repeated things that weren't working. Yeah. And it just, by pure luck, of a DQ, he got the win. But ultimately,
we're back. It
was a 10-2, 11-1 that fight. It was a wide.
Jay was saying to Liam, Billy came out after, and take it for what you will, but he said something happened to Lewis on fight day, and it doesn't sound great, does it? You're probably better off just keeping that one inwards. But he's saying you see a different Lewis Crocker this time around. None of us will ever know probably what happened on that day, but I said, if Paddy is off and Lewis, could the roles be reversed this time around? But like
that's my chair squeaking.
They looked a golfing class for me in March.
Mate, and you just nailed it. You just asked a minute ago, did the occasion get to Lewis in March? Being brutally honest, for me, no. There's just Paddy Donovan is a couple of levels better than Lewis Crocker. That's what we saw in March. We saw that Paddy Donovan is the real deal. Him and Andy Lee said all through the build-up, this is where we announce ourselves. We've had our undercard fights where we've, banged our noise. That's how we've got here, but this is where we announce ourselves. And look, he lost because he got disqualified. So let's not forget that. It will go down as a defeat on his records. But what we saw happening in the ring was a boxing performance that, you see, and it's one man impressing and another man looking to see if he can get through the 12 rounds. That was the question. The only question that was left in that fight, if it went the distance, was can Paddy get the stoppage, or will Lewis be able to see out the 12 rounds? Yeah. And I don't think I'm being harsh in saying that.
Can I mean, the elephant in the room for me is, did we overestimate Lewis Crocker's abilities, and did we rate him higher than what his skill set actually is? Because I think I did.
Yeah, well, I did too, I think. But, he's got a chance to prove. We're going to find out.
Prove us all wrong. We're going to find out, because we were all high on him. I think I picked him anyway. Me and
Liam were talking about it on his show, actually. Me and you definitely both picked him, and Liam was quite strong on Paddy. So we were right and Liam was wrong.
As always.
Technically, yes, if you want to get technical on it,
I know, because you talk about it, but you have to actually remember that Paddy Donovan...
I actually put my money where my mouth is. I was right.
Paddy Donovan actually lost the fight, even though maybe it was a moral victory or whatever.
Look, if Donovan doesn't need to do that much different, depending on what Crocker does, you see. Because if Crocker turns up and... he's not going to become this slick, polished boxer overnight. That's just not him, and it's not his style. But he needs tactically to be different and play a complete, two football teams, for example, play. And, I'll use Liverpool beating Man United 7-0. The next time they played each other, I think Man United knocked Liverpool out of the cup, because Man United played totally different. So you can have the same teams, the same people, but with different tactics, and it's a completely different fight. Donovan, for me, the only worry for me is, and I don't think, because Andy Lee, I believe he is a consummate professional, and I'm not saying that, that Donovan isn't. That Donovan isn't, but are they going to go in there thinking,
I
don't believe that, because there's a world title on the line. But
Andy Lee's too seasoned, isn't he, for that?
I think so, and I think that would be the only way that would hold the door ajar for Crocker to burst through and get the win. We may just see a repeat of what we saw the last time, but I'd like to think that Billy's got. I know he made the excuses, and I don't like to hear that. And they always preface it with, "I'm not making excuses, but
here's an excuse."
You always know, don't you? You always know something interesting is coming when that preface is put in front of you.
Yeah, definitely.
Either way, look, it can't not be a good fight.
Oh yeah, it's and the occasion's going to be spectacular as well. We'll quickly just nod to Ishmael and Kevin Ajaka. We probably won't get a prediction show on around that, so we can open up a little bit more.
Hate them both. I hope they both lose.
Two exposure. The main man, Troy Williamson, who were absolutely brilliant victory last week. So credit to the Trojan. But
did I tell you I got 40-1 by any chance?
I may have heard that. Yeah,
people on the moon that have heard that one, Jay.
She hasn't.
It could be a cracker, that issue against Keevan.
I don't see it. I can't. Sorry, Liam. I can't see it not being. I mean, they both come forward, pressure fighters. We know what they're about. They've both got a common opponent. You know, they both, I don't want to say easily outpointed Troy Williamson, but they both comfortably beat Troy Williamson in terms of, you know, they were just faster, sharper, and had the right tactics. So we know what they're about. The difference in this fight for me is the fact that Ishmael Davis has fought at the very top level. I know he hasn't worked his way up to the pinnacle and then become a voluntary, etc. But he's boxed on the massive cards, the Saudi card against, you know, one of the top 5 within his weight division. Yes, he got stopped, but he was in that fight until he wasn't, and he got it at short notice. So for me, I think it could come down to can a Jarko, yes, I know he's at home and the crowd's going to be hostile towards Davis, but that can also work in your detriment sometimes. We've just spoke about Crocker possibly letting the occasion get to him. There's a lot of pressure on a Jarko. He said a lot of things in the press. I know they've gone backwards and forwards. They put a bit of spite on it because neither of them really are trash talkers, either. They're not.
No, not massively.
You know, but for me, I'm edging Davis in it. I'll you know, keep my powder dry, but I am edging Ishmael Davis. I just think he's a little bit better in everything that he does.
Look, let's finish giving it the kiss of death. Let's all three of us say it's going to be a fantastic fight. No,
shite.
In all seriousness, this is what you want as a co-main event, especially for a stadium card. You don't often get 2 fighters that should deliver, do you, in this slot on these cards? Look, like you say, a common opponent, and they both beat Troy comfortably enough, but you wouldn't say either of them dominated Troy, if that makes sense. And that's not any bias. That's just the way those fights went. Look, Ish Davis has had the excuse in his last 2 fights of not having a proper training camp, has he? Because he took Josh Kelly at 8 days' notice, and okay, the fight in December was a bit more, but it still was under a month's notice. So he's had a full training camp this time. So let's see what he can do off the back of that. We know what his potential and talent is. It's now a chance to remind people. And Jarko feels a bit mistreated, doesn't he? He feels like he's been overlooked for other opportunities. So he's going to go out there with a point to prove. Forget the fact that he's going to have a home crowd behind him. He's been very outspoken on social media, within interviews, etc., saying he feels like he's been overlooked. But you're going to have to back that talk up now on Saturday night, because you can't come out there, say all that stuff, and then not deliver on fight night. So I lean towards Ish, similar to what Jay's just said, but we know what a Jarko does. And if he sets off at that pace he set early on against Troy, before Troy came back into the fight down the stretch, then it will be up to Ishmael Davis to sort of weather the storm and then come on strong, won't it? It's a fantastic match.
It's very evenly matched. It's the main event is though as well. I know Donovan edged him and sort of outboxed him, but up to that point, it was sort of touted as a 50-50 fight. I think the co-main event is a 50-50 of all 50-50s.
It is,
It's a razor thin, and I think we could see a razor thin decision at the end, or, you know, could we get a draw and a rubber match? I don't know. I'm excited for it though. It's a really
me too. I think it's worth a watch along, the co-main for sure. Speaking of worth a watch along, Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. That's
forgot about that.
Yeah, that's worth a bit of a watch along. So that'll finish then in Belfast. I'm doing it in chronological order. So we're going then to the Allegiant Stadium. So the first big boxing card at this brand new 80,000 seater, I think, in Vegas. I'll say it's not really a decent undercard, I don't think. But it's
rubbish. It's shite, man. Well, we've got Jermaine Franklin's return, the eagerly anticipated return.
We'll say less about Franklin. That. Christian and Billy against Lester Martinez. I think it's a very good fight. The only thing about it is it's a 10-round interim World Championship fight, which I find bizarre. But look, that's probably because there's about 1,500 fights on the undercard. I don't know how they've swindled that one, but King Callum Walsh against Vargas in the...
That's a good fight, isn't it?
Yeah, Vargas, that's the co-main because Lester Martinez is trained by Bomac, so he can't be there while Crawford's prepping and warming up, so I get that. And then obviously we've got the big one. So I'll throw the floor to you boys. Obviously, You know, we don't need to go that deep on the co-main and Christian and Billy Lester Martinez. Let's get into what's going on with the undisputed super middleweight championships.
I mean, I saw him face off today, and you know, I'm a bit fearful for the little ginger kid. That big black kid is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I just said to Liam on his show. I really don't think the size difference. I mean, Canelo's thicker. There's no doubt about that. Big, thick shoulders and back.
He looks like he's done the weight right. He doesn't look bloated. He doesn't look fat. He's got a bit of belly, but obviously he's carrying a bit of water, so he will lose something, I believe.
Yeah.
To make.
Do you think he'll weigh?
I think he'll come in at 166, 167, something just under. And I think fight night he might be 170. I mean, he walks round at 190 anyway. He's always cut a lot of weight.
Yeah, he cut a lot for 147, didn't he? Even for 140.
The concern for me is he takes shots, doesn't he? He's never been afraid to take shots.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to take that risk. Look, right, there's a blueprint on how to beat Canelo. I know we're talking about the likes of Floyd Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol here, but watch the Amir Khan fight. Amir Khan won every minute of every round in that fight until he got caught and got sloppy, which is Khan's flipping... That's what Khan does.
There is a blueprint, Jay. You're right. I think that's really well said. And you know, look, Floyd Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol. You know, Floyd. I don't need to explain Floyd's credentials. Dimitri Bivol, the current undisputed. Well, he's been stripped now, hasn't he, Benavidez? But he was undisputed light heavyweight champion. These are two elite. You know, you could call them both generational. To be honest with you, Dimitri Bivol is that good. Yeah. So yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. We'll get our predictions out tomorrow. Pat reckons it's an 8th to 10th round.
Well, just a quick one on that. What we've got to bear in mind is that Canelo has boxed as low as lightweight, spent a majority of his career at welter, then slowly went 154, 160, 168. Crawford's not just thrown this weight on. This fight's been touted for 2.5 years. He went from 148 to 154, and then he's made the jump from 154 to 158. But he's not... I know this is his first fight at 168, but he's done it the right way. He's steadily, incrementally added the muscle and the weight. I think he's going to be all right. I don't think he's going to be sluggish. I think he got that shit out of his system at 154.
Yeah.
Did it wrong. He's doing it right this time. I'd be very surprised if Canelo stops Crawford, Pat. Very surprised.
Yeah. Liam, I think I'd be surprised if there was a stoppage either way.
Yeah. I don't believe there'll be a stoppage. I've said all along.
I don't, mate. If there's a stoppage, it will be the biggest shock of the night, regardless of which way it goes. The biggest shock would be the fact there's a stoppage.
Yes, Luca.
Look, by Crawford's own admission, he started sort of bulking up in the right way for this fight at the back end of 2024. That tells you everything he needs to know. He's not crashing it and rushing it and doing it in a hurry. He's been incrementally doing this since the back end of 2024.
You like that word, don't you?
I do, mate. It's a big word for me. I'm proud of myself. No, it's one of those where if he then comes out after the fight because he loses and says, I didn't do the weight right, well, we can bring the tapes back where he said before, no, I've been doing this right. So there's no excuses there. The other thing, which I said to Sam earlier, where Canelo started his career at is within the weight classes that Crawford's fought at in his career as well. So this narrative of Canelo's so much bigger than Crawford's, okay, on what they've done as professionals, that is true. But naturally, what they walk around at, what they are weighing at naturally when they're not
same size,
they are very similar.
If you saw the face-off today, they did a face-off today. Crawford's taller. Canelo's got a thicker frame, so his neck's thicker but I think Crawford's got the range. I think he's got length on him. And he's as big. I think there'll be 5 or 6 pounds in this fight night. I think there'll be 5 or 6 pounds in this.
Yeah,
I know Canelo's 175, but I don't believe he'll be anywhere near that for this fight. He can't be sluggish. Because if he is, he'll just get his head boxed off, as Amir Khan showed us can be done. And Floyd, I know it's Floyd. And as you said, Bivol, generational greats. But the blueprint's there. Show me the blueprint on how to beat Crawford. I think Sean Porter's probably got as close as anyone.
Yeah, Porter was ahead, wasn't he? And
as soon as he knew he was behind,
he
flatlined him.
Bomac gave him the old hairdryer in the corner, and then he sorted it out. Evening, Luke. I hope you're well. If you're about the predictions, we'll be covering that.
We are.
Go on, Liam.
I just think as well, look, this fight has been talked about for so long. It's not as if that they've just thrown this fight together at 10 weeks' notice and Canelo's got a massive advantage because he's not giving Crawford time to properly get himself to the weight. This, like we said, this fight's been spoken about for a long time. It was announced, it was leaked 13, 14 weeks out. We had an official announcement 10 weeks ago. There's no excuses from either man. The question is, Canelo, this is the 68th time he's danced as a professional. We've seen a decline or him not at his highest level since Caleb Plant. If we're being honest, there's been a slight dip. Is this the time to get him? Look, Crawford, unfortunately, as good as he is, will never fight more than once a year. He's not done it since he beat Julius Ndongu, which was 7-8 years ago, for God's sake. So he always fights once a year. If this fight was 3 years ago, you heavily favour Canelo because that's when he's
Canelo was the pound for pound number one probably 3 years ago.
Now you bring it back more towards it being an even fight because of the fact that Canelo is where he is. But Canelo can turn it on when he needs to.
Like I said to you, Liam, on your show, there's an argument to be said that he carried Munguia a little bit. Like John Ryder didn't have to turn up. He didn't have to turn up against Charlo, Belanga. We saw what happened.
It's the Billy Joe fight that is the worry for me.
Yeah.
Because Billy Joe's boxing ability is...
Yeah, Billy Joe was doing really well in that fight till he got clocked, wasn't he, to be fair? Look, can Canelo turn it back on still? It remains to be seen. But if he's going to turn it on, the stage will be on Saturday night. If he's got it left in the tank, that extra 5% in training camp that maybe he didn't need to put in because he was only fighting Belanga or he's only fighting Munguia, Chop, whatever it may be, he'll be putting that in. He'll be putting that in training camp this time around. Luke says, just me thinks Canelo Crawford's the best fight of the weekend. There's an argument, Luca, for sure. There is an argument. Japan fight for me is a fight I wanted to see for so long. Inoue versus MJ. Crocker Donovan too.
It's a great weekend as well. Sorry, mate. It's such a good weekend. The fact that we're saying here that there's an argument Canelo Crawford is the third best fight.
Without laughing, it's true. It's a valid point.
Yeah, it's a valid point. And look, I think it's come Sunday or Monday, whenever we can actually get ourselves together to do a review after the slog we're going to put in, I don't think we're going to have been disappointed. I just think there's a narrative in all three fights, isn't there? We can't cover the narrative for Belfast in this one. We're going to go into Japan in a minute. There's a narrative there as well. I think whoever wins, out of the 6 men in the 3 big main events this weekend, whoever wins on either side, you're going to be impressed by because they're going to have to make statement performances. Does that make sense?
Oh, without question. Look, the headlines are going to be made in Vegas, aren't they? No, I didn't. Thanks for joining us. Hand history vault. No, I got that wrong. It was a good performance by Mick Conlon, to be fair. But look, it's going to be the Vegas fight's going to get the headlines. But for me, the Inoue versus Akhmadaliev fight on
that's the one
Sunday morning / afternoon for us here. Sorry, Lucas put something in. Did you see Dana put out a promo vid in Turkey? Replied, moaning Riyadh not mentioned. Look. Dana,
yes, I did.
I didn't see that. I need to look at it after. But Dana doesn't care.
Disappeared,
Dana just does not care. Like Turkey isn't going to rule what Dana does. Not a hope in hell. But yes, Inoue Akhmadaliev, Luca is going to be. No, you're okay, Hanish Revolt. Don't worry. Wake up. We'll do one soon where we get calls in because we're nearly finished on this one. So don't worry. So, Inoue MJ will finish up on, boys. We've been calling on it on this show. We've nearly done 50 episodes of it now for probably at least half or more of them, really. Inoue for Cardenas last time out, he was dropped. He fought Luis Nery last year. He was dropped. Both left hands. He's looked more human. Look, he's gone up a lot of weights. He's in his 30s now. If there's ever going to be a time to get in, Akhmadaliev might have him at the time. Look, Inoue is going to start a heavy favourite. I've already seen the odds in it. I think he's too much of a favourite, but he's obviously going to be the favourite. But I also said to Liam a while ago, look, I think Akhmadaliev is going to really struggle to get a decision in Japan unless he really puts a beating on Inoue. So look, there's so many variables, but for me, it is the best matchup at 122 pounds right now. I think you've got the legitimate number 1 guy versus the legitimate
absolutely.
Look, Eddie and Frank Smith have been peddling the wagon for a long time about MJ getting his shot. We all have. But yeah, look, we'll get the video out tomorrow about who we think will win. But what do you boys genuinely think about what probably is, at least, matchup wise, I would say the biggest 50-50 of
who's this dude? Get him out of here, weirdo.
If it wasn't Nakatani,
fucking freak.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Can't charge $99.99 for that. And I'm not hand history.
Anyway, if it wasn't Nakatani, Akhmadaliev was the fight we wanted to see for Inoue. We all said that. I think the fascination there is Akhmadaliev has the punching power, doesn't he? We know he does. We've seen it transfer as he's
don't think he's quick enough.
Prospects. That's the thing. I think with Inoue, where he struggles with is Inoue can get in and out so quickly. MJ has to plant his feet. He has to be set before he lets anything big go. We kind of know that. But at the same time, Inoue is also getting older now. He's been at this top table 7, 8, 9 years. When he beat Jamie McDonald's out in Japan, that was 2018, 2019. And since then, he's done the World Boxing Super Series. He's been through some absolute wars. At some point, like we said with Canelo, there will have to be a drop-off. I'm not saying it will come on Sunday morning for us, but MJ Akhmadaliev does have the power, I think, and probably, the grit to make it a hard fight.
He needs to catch him on the exit if he's gonna catch him. He needs to catch Inoue on the time him.
Like Luis Mere done, like Cardano's done. That is the blueprint. Is catching him with high hooks above his guard, because he does carry his guard low. You can catch the top of his head Inoue. He's always done that. But 5-6 years ago, he was getting away with that because he was, half a step quicker than he is now. So that's the blueprint to beat him. The question is, if Akhmadaliev is up on the scorecards after 5 or 6 rounds and he hasn't stopped Inoue, we know Inoue can turn his switch and move through the gears. Will MJ be able to stick with him down the second half of the fight if he hasn't got rid of Inoue, if that makes sense?
Are they on about us there? The horse picked Bateson? None of us.
No, I picked Bateson to beat Michael Conlan the other week because I thought Conlan was shot to bits.
Right, okay. And he was doing very well in that fight.
Conlan
just going back to
I've got one wrong, so it's quite a common theme. Whenever I get them wrong, I get a bit of a stick. But anyway, Inoue, MJ, it's going to be a brilliant one. I wanted to ask you both before we finished up about Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker that was announced for October the 25th. I think the presser was today, wasn't it? It was announced a couple of days ago. What do you think of that particular matchup?
It's not a fight I'm interested in seeing, really. Not a fight I was wanting to see. I mean, I'll watch it. I will watch it. I think it's risky for Fabio. I think Parker's on the up and up. I don't know whether they've seen something or whether it's just an opportunity too big not to take. I am not reading anything into him pulling himself out of the fire with his last fight, because I think Parker is 2 or 3 times better than
Justice Hooney.
Than Justice Hooney.
Yeah.
And it's, listen, if Fabio Wardley beats Joseph Parker, he has established himself as one of the top 5 heavyweights in the world.
Oh, an incredible victory. But literally,
I hope he can pull it off. But I love Joe Parker as well, man. It's a tough one. He's your boy, Liam. What do you think?
Yeah, Liam's man.
He is my boy, but I've got to be honest and say it's a horrible fight for him.
Yeah.
It's the Joe. You boys know I love Joe Parker. I love the fact that he's gone from being written off and told to retire to be in the position he's in now. It was said at the press today, this has been made.
It must just be me that's done very well this past week and not one draw. Sorry, Liam.
All good, mate. This fight is being made because they're WBA and WBO interim, so they're trying to clear some of the politics for who gets the next shot at Usyk, which is fair enough. Look, we say we want to, whatever it is, mate. We say we want to see some of these. We want to see some of these belts moved on, don't we? So at least we're getting it. But look, Joseph Parker has boxed at a far better and far superior level, and we see more from him than we have from Fabio. And I will back Fabio, of course I will, because he is my local fighter. But the chips are up against him. The odds are stacked against him. I just think he would have to have a performance we've not seen from Fabio yet, and Parker would probably have to have his worst night since Joe Joyce for him to have a shot. That's the reality. I mean, Well, I will try and get to the O2, but I'm at Wembley that day for the England-Australia Ashes test. I need to try and work out a way to get across London for both. But look, Joe Parker deserves a world title shot. So if this is what they're doing to get the winner into a world title position, I can't complain. But on paper, it's another step down, isn't it, again from McCauley, and obviously before that with Zhang and Wilder. And it pains me to say it, but that's the reality. He's coming down on his levels after what he was doing 18, 24 years ago.
Yeah, it's tough, but look, Usyk's earned the right to do what he wants. And I like Parker. I watched the Talk Sport segment of the day. I love Parker's attitude. He's just like, anybody.
You can't not, man. He laughs at himself, but he's a serious guy.
He's just how can you root against Joe Parker?
And he's had the shit end of the stick, really, because the guy's been deserving of a world title fight for the past 18 months, really.
Well, look, I picked him to beat Dubois. You boys, I think, picked Parker. I can acknowledge now, I think that probably Parker would have beat him in February. So, it's a tough one. Yes, Mo, thanks for stopping in. 3 fights you don't bet against Bud Usyk and the Monster. I think that's
Can't disagree with that. Fair comment.
I think...
Yeah, that is a fair comment.
I think the other thing as well is you got to give Fabio credit as well, because yes, it's only an interim world title, but he could have easily decided to sit on the interim belt and take on someone.
You're not wrong, Luca.
Yeah, Luca. He probably did. Sorry, Liam. Yeah, I think I agree with Han History Bot as well. I think Fabio just needs a moment, doesn't he? So that's the interesting part.
He needs the moment, but Fabio could have easily sat on the fact he's an interim world champion and waited either for Usyk to vacate or for him to get the shot against Usyk. He didn't need to take the Parker fight. So you've got to give them both a lot of credit. But one of them's been there, done it, got the t-shirt. The other one, we still don't know what his level is. And I guess if Fabio pulls it off against Joseph Parker, then undoubtedly he's at the top table of heavyweight boxing. Then we know denying it if he does it. But it's a very, very tall order, especially if you go off the fact he was outboxed by Hooney before he landed that right hand.
Yeah, well, look, you got to get out of jail free card against Hooney. He's well on his way to losing, landed an absolute howitzer, as you call it, Liam, and he's kind of got a free pass here because he was going to lose that fight anyway. So why not go and take on Joseph Parker for $1 million payday or whatever he'll get? So look, more life to Fabio Ward. He's come from nothing to get to where he is. So.
The best moment I've had watching the fight live was that moment. It was incredible, but it's a tall order. I hope we get it. Look, it's been announced quite short notice as well, so you've got to hope they've been working away in the background.
They were saying from yesterday or whatever. Or from the weekend
7 weeks away. So you'd imagine this has been, they've been working towards it for a while. You would hope so. We're getting the best version of both men, but. One thing I will say, the rumor that this is going on DAZN pay-per-view
that's
with
poor.
the undercard they're talking about.
That's poor because that isn't going to sell anything on DAZN pay-per-view. It really is. It just goes to show you that any decent fight now is pay-per-view.
I think that tells you they need the pay-per-view revenue to make up of the money they need to make for the fighters, if that makes sense. They need else.
Oh, they're going to both command a big payday. Yeah, that is true. Mankey Crazy, to be fair, thanks for joining us, my friend. He did that against Kevin Arena, didn't he, as well? But possibly, Han History, we're going to get the main events done tomorrow night. If there's room, we'll maybe sneak in Christian and Billy and Lester Martinez and Ish against Stephen Ajarko. Because, we were just saying we'll be doing a watch-along for it on Saturday night because it is a great, great fight. Kevin Ajarko against Ish. One more before we go. What do you think about Daniel Dubois leaving Don Charles? And I think
fair.
Is it been announced yet? He's going.
They'll all have the 6 fingers in the air.
Lucas dropped a few bangers in there tonight. He's back.
He's on fire tonight.
Yeah, I agree, Pat. Shocking, but what do you think about that? I think it's terrible, personally.
How many times do you see it? It's a boxing tale as old as time. A fighter loses their biggest challenge, and it's the trainer's fault. Doesn't matter what that trainer's done for them, and we know Don Charles has helped revitalise and remould Daniel Dubois into the fighter that he currently is within boxing. The bigger issue with Daniel Dubois is his dad and that circle. We don't need to get into that again, but if all the rumours we've heard since the Usyk fight are true, those are the people he needs to be stepping away from. Caroline's done it. And Caroline was thriving before, but you could arguably say she's in an even better position now since she removed Stan from the picture. You never want to see families separate. That's not what we're about. We've spoken about it before. with the Eubank situation. But getting rid of Don Charles could be a massive mistake. I mean, the rumor of where Dubois ended up as well, I think it's a backward step for him. There's no Kieran Farrell leaving was the first alarm bell. I think me and you spoke about that, Jay, didn't we? When Kieran Farrell put his tweet out saying, "I'll no longer be working with Dubois," you start going, "Shit,
What's
right?
going
Okay,
on?
that doesn't sound."
The dad's got too much control.
And then Don Charles has followed suit. Look, Sam Jones is in there, and regardless of what we think of Sam Jones, we personally thought that could be a good thing at the time. But Sam Jones has come in and everyone else has fallen away. It makes you question what path Dubois is going down. The rumour is he's going to be out in December.
Against Martin
So I guess that
Frank Warren on TalkSport earlier said that Dubois got an injury, and if he wasn't injured... What did he say?
Don't read it out.
Jesus Christ. You are welcome. Thank you for joining us as always. Thank you, Crazy.
I was skirting around that fact.
Liam,
I was trying to keep on live.
TalkSport earlier that Dubois and Parker was going to be the fight on October the 25th, but Dubois got injured, so he's out for the rest of the year.
Ah, right, okay.
Well, I mean, it was, 2 weeks ago that video came out where someone held up the piece of paper written in crayon for Daniel to say that he'll be back soon. So if he's picked up an injury since then that's unfortunate. But I do still hope we see Daniel again before the end of this year. And I do hope that whatever is going on behind the scenes doesn't, derail him. Because, he's still young enough. The landscape's going to change again in the next 12, 18 months. Dubois will be a major player at heavyweight. But the external factors that perhaps influenced, he would have lost to Usyk regardless for me, but those external factors that perhaps influenced the performance need to be removed. And I'm not sure Don Charles and Kieran Farrell were the two people to get rid of.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't really see how it can work, but what do I know? Anything else gone on over the last couple of weeks that we've been absent that is worth talking about? Or I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Not really, no. I think we've probably covered up and coming. There's not been a lot really going on, has there really?
It's been
Rafferty Chamberlain.
Rafferty Chamberlain was phenomenal. The rematch, let him rest up a bit because that was a war.
Mark's card, he won't fight again this year. That's early next year.
Moses is back out on the 13th of December against a top 10 opponent, they're saying, but I mean, I can't see anyone taking that without a ridiculous paycheck.
I'll fight him.
Yeah.
Well, Frank said, I think it was last week on TalkSport, that if Hrgovic recovers from the cuts that he got in his last fight, then it will be.
Well, they said they've offered it to Hrgovic.
So who's it going to be if it's not Hrgovic? I mean, Hrgovic makes sense for all the reasons we've spoken about. It's another test, another step in the right direction, and it's definitely a better fight than White was 3 weeks ago. But if it's not Hrgovic, I'd almost rather see Moses wait until next year and fight Hrgovic than
Jared Anderson.
If it's not, if it's not the right level, I'd rather see Moses wait till next year because we don't gain anything from seeing him do the job inside 6 minutes.
Get Big Martin in there, the sparring.
King of undefeated sparring champion.
Yeah, I think, mate, I'd love that fight. That'd be a great fight. Reports are Crawford injured by Canelo. Thanks, G80 Jack. Thank you very much for the $1.99. Reports are Crawford is injured. I don't know about that.
Nah.
I don't know. I read it myself. G80 Jack about his shoulder or something. I don't know if
I think the fight's too big for him to risk going in. I mean, he'll have a niggle. They always do. Fighters always have niggles. They're never 100%. But I think if it's a serious injury, he's not going to go in there hampered by a serious shoulder injury for the biggest fight of his life. But the payday is astronomical.
I read the reported purses is Canelo, or the guaranteed purses. Canelo 150 million, Crawford 50 million. That was, you never know how credible these sources are, but there's no doubt.
If that's even 20% off, mate, that's still...
Canelo's undoubtedly the A side, so, I'd imagine it would be getting 3 times what Crawford to get.
Probably, mate. I mean, yeah.
That doesn't
surprise me. I mean, he is the A side, isn't he? But...
On that injury rumour as well, sorry, mate. Look, when do we go into a massive fight and you don't hear one side of it? You hear it all the time. So I think at this point, it's... Look, everyone this week wants to get clicks, wants to get views, wants to be the one that everyone's talking about. It's a shame, really, because this fight and this event is big enough. I hope Crawford isn't injured. I do hope he's getting in there 100% fit because, like you say, this is a chance, or like we said, this is a chance for him to finally propel himself into the wider audience of boxing greats. We know he is within, the boxing fraternity, but this is his chance to show people that, the casuals, I don't like that phrase, but the casual boxing fans think it is as well.
Boys, I'm going to ask you a question before I make one more statement. I do think that there'll be a rematch clause one way on the Canelo side. I don't know if it's came out or anyone said anything, but I'd be very surprised if Canelo doesn't want or didn't include in the deal for him to fight Crawford that if he loses, he gets a rematch. But I can't see it being two-sided. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. There's been no report of a two-fight deal. Prior to Fury and Usyk, we knew it was a two-fight. Or do you know what I mean? There's been or Eubank Ben, that kind of thing. I've not heard that, but I'd be very surprised if Crawford wins on Saturday if we don't see it again for Cinco de Mayo next year.
It needs to be a good enough fight because remember, we were meant to see the Bivol fight again, but once they sort of took stock and A, realised that Canelo was soundly beaten and B, realised there wasn't as much appetite there for it, the idea was quickly dispelled. If it's a close fight, of course we'll want to see a rematch, but if it's one-sided either way, there's no real need for it, is there? Look, Canelo could ride off into the sunset after Saturday, especially if the purse is what you're saying, mate. He will happily ride off into the sunset, I think, whereas Crawford... Move back down.
Yeah, but the way things do in my head in, fucking Canelo's a welterweight. He's just bulked up and gone through the divisions. I know he's done it over a longer period of time, but ultimately he's still a small man that's packed on a load of muscle and a load of weight over the years. Be that for
I agree.
Contaminated steak or not.
I agree. I think if he look, he didn't KO Belang, he didn't KO Munguia, he didn't KO Charlo, he didn't KO John Ryder. XYZ. I do like we said earlier. I actually would be surprised if it was a KO either way. Well, especially if Crawford KO Canelo. But I really don't see Canelo stopping Terence Crawford. I really don't.
I don't. There's famous last words. There's not a stoppage in this fight. This fight goes the distance.
There you go.
Keep my score.
We got Hagler Hearns Part 2 coming on Sunday. It's going to be a 3-round blowout. Look, there's rumours everywhere. We look, truth be told, we haven't got a clue what's going to happen. But look, we'll be back tomorrow for the main event prediction show. It's been great to have Jay and Liam on again. Finally, some decent boxing to talk about.
Cheers,
we'll be back for the watch-alongs at the weekend. Can't wait to get stuck into Belfast, Japan, and of course Canelo Crawford in Vegas. Guys, thanks for everybody joining us. Hand History Vault, Mo, G80 Jack, Luca, Mankey Crazy, DJ Pat. Have I missed anybody? Wake up for the great interaction.
I like Ryan. Wake up. Prefer Ryan to Tommy.
Yes. So thanks very much for joining us, guys. Great to have everybody here. And we'll be back tomorrow, which is good to say because it's been back in 3 weeks for the last few weeks. And then we'll. I'm sure the boys will have Straight Talk going on JFT YouTube channel to get subbed up there. And then me and Liam have just done the show on LT Sweet Boxing Science, so get yourself subbed up there. Don't know if you boys have got Straight Talk coming on Thursday or anything.
Thursday.
Yeah. Okay, great. So go and check that. Yeah. Cheers, Pat. We'll see you tomorrow for that. And
see you, boys.
Have a great evening, everyone. Cheers, Mo. Thanks for that.
Cheers, Mo. Cheers.